we will have her mentor, Michelle, introduce her.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Fowler, and I've been a mentor with Magic for about 5 years. I had the pleasure of mentoring Lauren for this summer session, and I was really impressed that she already came in with an idea for her project, which she will go into in detail. And she was able to get a lot done in this short period of time while going through her last term in high school, especially this week, which was her finals week, and preparing for this presentation. I'm very impressed with everything that she's done. I very much enjoyed working with her. I'm based in the US and she's from Brazil, so we had a lot of conversations about cultural differences, and I learned a lot from her during this session. So take it away, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was a great experience to had all the work with you. And I'm a senior at my school in South Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul. And you can go to the next slide. So there are some bullet points that I would like to stress about my mentor, who is Michelle Fowler. She's a director of IT at GATX Corporation. She is currently living in Virginia, but she was born in Chicago. She likes to visit aquariums and museums, spend time with friends, family, and she also loves to travel. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about my project. The title of my project is Evaluation of the Antimicrobial Activity of the Aqueous Extract of the plant Luheia varicata, an in vitro approach. So what I did was basically I ran an experiment, an independent experiment, and I wrote a paper about what I have about my results. So the reason why I decided to conduct the study based on this specific tree that is Luheia varicata, that's the scientific name, of course. The local name here in Brazil is Açoita cavalo. And well, the reason why is my grandma. Well, here in Brazil, it's pretty common that uh, grandmas always know like a medicinal solution for everything. And I asked mine if she had one, and she was really proud of talking about Luheia varicata. And that's a native South Brazil plant. And unfortunately, when I search for the about this plant, I haven't found any research papers about the way that people really use the plant here in South Brazil. So the way they do it is basically by making a tea out of the bark and leaves of the tree. And well, most of the papers that I have read are about the ethanol extract and not about the aqueous extract. So therefore, I decided to conduct a study about the aqueous extract. You can go to the next slide, please. So here we have a photo of the tree, which is of course my research object. And I have decided to conduct the study on bacteria that is my microorganism used. The name of the bacteria is Staphylococcus aureus. So that's basically a gram-positive bacteria, and it causes many health problems such as skin infections, pneumonia, heart infections. But the reason why I decided to use Staphylococcus aureus was the skin infections because, well, my grandma normally puts the tea that she makes in her skin to prevent any skin infections. So therefore, I decided to use this one. And of course, it was available on the university in which I conducted the study, which is Univates. And well, you can go to the next slide. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the methodology that I used. So first of all, I collected the material, and in this part, of course, I have helped. I have help from the professors of the university in which I conducted the study in. And they collected the bark, some parts of the bark, and the leaves. So the first part that I did was to dry the material, and basically for 2 days, let's say. And then it's the second part is to make the tea out of the materials. So there are two ways to do it: the infusion and decoction. They are pretty similar, I would say. The difference is that decoction is for more hard materials such as the bark, and basically in decoction, the solution continues to boil. We heat the water, and the solution continues to boil throughout the whole process for around like 30 minutes. And in infusion, I heated the water up, and then when it started boiling, I stopped heating it, and then put it the leaves of Fluhed Varicata. You can go to the next slide. So basically, those two photos are the filtration process. The first one is a vacuum filtration. As you can see, in the left part of the photo, there's an equipment that creates vacuum through the tube that is connected to the flask. And what I did was to pour the solution in the funnel, and it basically accelerates the filtration process. And then in the second photo, we have the filtration in the rotary evaporator. It basically works by creating specific conditions of pressure and also water temperature. So specifically here was 50 degrees Celsius, the temperature of the water. And this first like brownish round bottom flask was rotating for a lot of time, I would say. And then what it does is to separate the water from the solution to create the crude extract, which is in the next slide. So here, the first photo is the crude extract, as you can see. And it may sound a little bit contradictory, but the next step is to add water. And that's because I decided to conduct my study on the aqueous extract and not the ethanol. So could be anything, but here I decided to add water because that's the way my local people here does it. So yes. And then we mix the water and the crude extract through the vortex mixer, which is a lab equipment. As you can see, it is basically, it creates a mechanic force to mix things. And here I had my first big problem. That was that the leaves of Fluhed Varicata weren't solubilizing well with water. And therefore, I decided to just continue my research based on the bark of Fluhed Varicata and not the leaves. Because, well, I wouldn't be getting real results if the solubilization weren't like perfect, and that didn't happen. So therefore, I just continued the work based on the bark. You can go to the next slide. So now, finally, I'm going to talk about my results and conclusions. So before I do that, I have to explain a little bit about the microdilution plate. That is basically what you're going to see in the next slide. And for you to understand it, I have to... No, you can continue on this one. Yes, I'll just explain how it works. So what you're going to see, and what is important for me to stress here, is that the H raw and the 10th to 12th column, they are basically the part in which we have the negative control, and that's basically a way to assure that my experiment didn't have any external microorganism that infected and therefore hindered my research results. So what we expect to see is that those rows and columns are negative, they have negative results. And what I put it there is just water, because that's what I use to solubilize my solution. So in the other parts of the microdilution plate, basically what we do is to have the first concentrations in the first raw, that is 8 milligrams per milliliter, and then at every like decrease in the raw, the results are cut in half. So the first raw was 8 milligrams per milliliter, the second 4, then 2, and etc. So you can go to the next slide, and finally we're gonna see what my results were. So the first photo is of course the microdilution process, and that was in the university, of course. And the results here, as you can see, we have two colors. It's a bluish and kind of color, I would say, and a pink color. So the blue color is located in our negative control, and therefore we have a negative results. That's awesome. That's exactly what we were expecting. So it means any microorganism infected our results, and my results, I would say. And the pinkish color means that we have had here bacteria growth. So thus my results are that the bark, aqueous extract of the bark of Rhea varicata didn't have any antimicrobial property against Staphylococcus aureus. That is the bacteria I used. So I would just like to stress here that even though the results weren't positive and what I was expecting, it was really important for me to understand that the results were negative, and like the tree didn't have that property I was expecting, because well, maybe under the conditions tested, something have changed the real properties, because of course I have conducted the study on winter. Here in Brazil it's winter right now. So that's a pretty inactive phase, inactive time of the year for most plants and trees. And that's really important, because when you think about the social impact of the work, is that many people still use the tree during the winter. So well, maybe those people should be thinking about using other medicinal solutions or even other drugs that are effective against skin infections and this specific bacteria, I would say. So, of course, as I said, many other available studies have proved that this tree is indeed, that this tree indeed has properties against many infections, but of course with ethanol extract and during summer normally. So yeah, that was really important. You can go to the next slide. Well, here I have basically an outline of my paper. As you can see, there are really specific parts. I'm not gonna be talking about each one of those, but uh, at the end, it was around 9 pages written. Yeah, I guess 9 or 10 pages, my final paper. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so basically in my medical experience, I would highlight, I see that my first point's missing, but it would be my future insights. So as I said, I'm a senior, and next year I hope to pursue a career in STEM, more specifically in chemistry or biochemistry or something really biology and chemistry related. So therefore, this study was really important to me because it was my first, let's say, my first step into this scientific world in which I'm going to be delving more deep in the next years, I hope. And the next thing the next thing I highlighted here was the organization. As I said, I have just had the winter break, which means 2 weeks for us. So that was all the time I had to conduct all the lab work. It was pretty hard for me because, well, I'm in my last year of high school, and I have had some trouble, of course. But well, all it took was really to organize everything, and to understand how I could manage my time. So the lessons learned, of course, writing skills, running an independent experiment, and lab skills, because that's really something that it's gonna help me out in the future. And time management, just as I explained before, and organization. Challenges, I would say the language barrier. I'm Brazilian, so English is not my mother language, and I don't feel like my English is perfect. And even more difficult was to conduct a scientific level of English and scientific level of research uh, in English. So there were many times in which I was talking to Michelle and I wasn't really know how to explain what I did, the specific equipment, and the vocab in general of what I was doing. So yeah, basically I had to really put effort on learning all of those vocabs. And yes, so the next point is scientific rigor. So that was something really hard because, well, couldn't make any mistake because I haven't had the time to redo it if necessary. So science requires a really rigor, like methodology, and everything has to be almost perfect. So that was something that I was aware of course, but not really that aware before I conducted my own study. And unexpected results is my last point, and I guess that it's really important because I know that I'm going to be facing many negative results and things that I'm not going to be expecting in the future. But I feel like having that first experience so early, it's really important because I know like when it happens in the future, I'm going to be prepared and I'm going to understand that every result is important, even though it isn't maybe what you expected. And well, that's basically it. Thank you so much for your attention. If you have any questions, don't hesitate asking me. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lauren, for walking us through your experiment and explaining your project. Photos that you took. You did a great job documenting all your work. And just kudos to all of you because Lauren, as you touched on so beautifully, that learning science, it really is another language. And so, you highlighted how, you really were working with 3 different languages during this session. But, all of our mentees as well have, been taking on new languages all summer long. And so just, major kudos to all of you. Are there any questions or comments for Lauren?
I've got more of a comment, but first of all, congratulations, Lauren. That was really phenomenal. I want to say not just, I think the project itself is really interesting. And I have the same kind of shared cultural thing with my family in India. And like generally there are a lot of really, it's a really cool topic, I think. But I wanted to particularly comment on your presentation, which was really outstanding. And then also the takeaway that you had about seeing something unexpected or maybe a negative result, something that you didn't necessarily want to see, so important. And I'm really impressed by the maturity and understanding you had of that. So I think you're really well set up for a lot of success in this area. And I'm very excited to see what you do next.
Thank you so much.
Sabrine and Tatsu.
Yeah, congratulations, Lauren. Really good work. And I wanted to know if you told your grandma about your results.
Yes, I did it. I just want to say my mother's like right next to me, and I'm gonna be, of course, my grandma doesn't understand English, so I really wanted her to be here, but she also doesn't read so well anymore. So, well, I'm gonna show the presentation after all in the YouTube link. And I have said to her, okay, it didn't work. And she was like, okay, maybe you weren't right, your results I'm right, and that's kind of a stubborn nature of my grandma. But she liked that I decided to like kind of hear what she had to say about the all the knowledge that she has. You know, after all, she and many locals here have that culture of having empirical knowledge and local knowledge that sometimes people just undermine, feel like it isn't important, but it is. Many people use the plant and it is accessible after all. We have that plant, I don't know, like in my all around the city. So I feel like that was something that she liked a lot, but she didn't believe that I was right. But that's okay.
That
Oh yeah. I just wanted to say how it was super cool that you kind of brought your grandma into this project. 'Cause like I have a grandma just like that in India, and she has like all of these like medicinal things with like plants, and so I just think it's really cool that like you got your grandma into this, and it's so sweet. Great job.
Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you.
I know we're running out of way over time, but I did want to comment on one thing. So when you do a scientific experiment and you don't get the results you are expecting, that can actually lead to other discoveries. So it's not only about I shouldn't be disappointed. I'm like, maybe this is telling me something else. So there's always goodness in that too. I just had to say that.
Mhm.
And congrats to all for your work and for your presentation, to you and your mentor, but to all the mentors.